Hello and welcome to another edition of Door County Today. I'm your host, Paul Regnier of Door County Nature and Travel. Fall is in the air in Door County, one of the best seasons to explore this beautiful peninsula. Come with us today as we learn about American Folklore Theatre, a professional musical and theatrical group that's like no other.
One of the most unique things about musicals that are developed for AFT is that they're tailored for our audience, for our space, and we try to have them be reflective of our culture. So a lot of our musicals do take place in Wisconsin. We also have a limitation, which we prefer to think of as a artistic need, to make sure that it's suitable for people of all ages.
And AFT is so unique in that way, in which you can look across, scan the audience, and there's people, all different ages, and they're all going, and it can be very affordable. And they're still seeing professional theater. Victory
Farm started as an idea by the two women writers, Katie Dahl and Emily Colson, who thought it would be interesting to write about this POW experience in Door County.
Emily and I met when we were 11 and 12 years old respectively, and we had both been big AFT fans.
As sometimes happens when two little girls meet on the turf that they both think they have established as their own, there was conflict.
At first, we each thought the other was intruding a little bit on our territory of best AFT volunteer and most fanatical AFT fan.
It took us about a year or two to realize that, oh, actually this other person has many of the same interests outside of AFT and at the theater.
I think that we first had the idea to write a show for AFT sometime around the time that we were finishing college.
We're not actors, we're not going to be performing in AFT shows. How else can we be a part of this theater company? And wouldn't it be neat if we could try writing a show for them?
We decided that it would be fun to write something about cherries because my family has a history of cherry farming.
I had sort of heard a little bit here and there about that there had been German POWs in Door County during World War II.
6 years ago, they came to me with this idea that they wanted to write a story about it. Would I be interested? I said, of course I'm interested. It sounds really, you know, like a good story. And I didn't know anything about that history. So I think that made it even more appealing, is that it happened in our own backyard and we didn't know anything about it.
It really is about reconciliation across cultures. In a time when America is really seriously working on issues of cultural diversity and cultural understanding, it's our opportunity to talk about cross-cultural understanding within a Door County context.
It's not easy to write a script for a musical, because really what you're doing is you're aiming for a story that's being told through music as well as through a script. So you have to write to the songs, and that's something that, you know, takes some practice.
We revised and revised and revised and wrote new songs and wrote new scenes and changed characters and changed sort of what happened within this world we had established.
We interviewed one man who lives in Door County who was a 16-year-old kid who was assigned to drive POWs from where they were sleeping to where they were working. And we also interviewed a 91-year-old man named Werner Krauskopf.
And he called Door County vacation camp. Of all the camps that these POWs were stationed at, they called this one vacation camp because it was, you know, the people were nice, the scenery was beautiful, and the work wasn't too hard.
My character is called Jack Brown, and I'm one of the guards. I am the guard for these 3 POWs that come to work on the cherry orchard. And I'm sort of a comic foil. You know, I'm sort of, they call him Stand Around Brown because he doesn't really do much. Except watch the POWs. He doesn't really want to work.
James Velk joined our project in the summer of 2010. Katie and I had both seen his music in other AFT shows, including the Spitfire Grill, and we admired it so much. But what James was able to do is take our story and help us create more background for each character, more strength in each scene, just tell the story more clearly through each of the pieces of music.
When they said that James was interested, I said, I think he's going to be your guy. Because James has a lot of experience with writing for musical theater, and specifically writing songs since he's a composer, but he's also written books.
James Valk actually was a member of AFT's predecessor troupe, the Heritage Ensemble. He and I performed together back in 1983, a very long time ago. He and Fred Alley created a show called The Passage for us back in 1994, and then the show Spitfire Grill, which was performed here several times. So they have a real deep appreciation and background of AFT.
He also has really helped shape the story. He has this wealth of experience in writing shows and knowledge of the sort of canon of what the American musical play is about, and understanding of how it needs to be structured to really function well. And that's an understanding that Emily and I are still coming to have, and we have much less experience with. He's always been so concerned with the central emotional truths of the characters, which is, I think, along with his music, his most valuable contribution.
Now, Victory Farm, specific place, specific time, specific people, different cultures, you know, all those elements, they make good storytelling.
Jeffcoat. I'm a jeweler in Door County, Wisconsin. I've been here for 28 years. For 7 years before that, I did art fairs, and I got tired, so I moved to Door County. Needed to settle, so this seemed like a good place. I wanted to make jewelry, and I wanted to do it with as few tools as possible. I just thought, well, a saw and a torch, and you know, soldering things together. You know, there's not really much involved as far as what you need to do it, but you need a lot of time, that's the thing. I may start 4 or 5 necklaces so I can, you know, draw them out, glue them on, drill the holes, saw a little of one, saw a little of another, so I can go back and forth. And it seems tedious, but I can break it up enough doing things in one area and then go into another area. So it really works for me. I started out geometric and simple. Then I started to add a little bit of nature themes here and there, and then there are stones. I add stones, I work around stones. A lot of times I'll pick stones that look like nature to me, and then I'll incorporate the design around it. They have to look like little paintings on their own. Sometimes I'll put the design over it so that the stone shows through the background, and there'll be a bird or a tree or something in the front, and it looks like Door County. And you see some cranes out in the yard one day, and it's like, okay, well, you know, there's something else I can add, or dragonflies, and I don't know, it's just being here. You know, you walk out the door, there's the water, and it's inspiring. I use sterling silver and different colors of 14 karat gold. I use rose, yellow, green, and white gold. For every sterling silver piece, there is an accent of 14 karat gold somewhere. And for every gold piece, there's an accent of a different color of gold. Sometimes it's a major part of the design, sometimes it's just a little sun or moon or a star somewhere. There's a lot of mistakes you can make, and so you have to be really careful. And that's the hardest thing. And the drawing the designs is fairly easy. The sawing is a breeze pretty much for me, and the soldering's the next hardest part, because green gold is very touchy, and sometimes it decides to melt into the background, and then you have a problem. So yeah, polishing would be the hardest part of my job, I would have to say. I can mix it up. I can draw out a couple flowers, couple trees, couple, you know, birds, and just saw out a little of one, a little of another, and a little of another, and go back and forth. So to me, it's not tedious. To everyone else who walks in my store, it looks like torture. I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to be on one hand, and on the other hand, I wanted to do something in the arts field. But, you know, the writing part was kind of a secondary thing. I always liked art. It was kind of something I was around all the time, and I respected it and appreciated it. And I kind of thought right from the very beginning that it was the right thing for me to be doing. And then there came a point where I thought, okay, I want to step it up a little bit, not keep doing the same old simple things. And so when I transitioned into doing more things with a nature theme, I knew that was the right thing to be doing at the time, and I left the geometrics behind. And it's kind of, I guess I've always kind of known I was doing the right thing, and doing the right thing with moving on and moving ahead and doing something different. Sometimes you'll hit on a design that you really like and you think, man, you know, how come it took me so long to figure that one out, and boy, I should make more of these. But you know, then you make another one that's similar, but it's not the same. Something has to be different. We don't like to repeat ourselves. Some winter I will wake up and something totally new will pop into my head, and that'll be that. I don't know. When I make this jewelry, I want people to take home a piece of Door County, something that when they wear it, they can look at it, you know, when they're in a stressful situation, in a traffic jam or something, and they can look at their ring and say, oh, I remember my 2 weeks in Door County and how peaceful and quiet it was, and, you know, just kind of have something that reminds them of something that was more quiet and more peaceful and pleasant, and not the everyday hustle and bustle. So yes, I know how lucky I am, truly. Every day when I drive to work and I drive past that big open expanse of water out there and see, you know, how beautiful it is. I am lucky.
Hi, I'm Paul Regnier with Door County Nature and Travel, and we're at Peninsula State Park at Eagle Terrace, among the edge of the Niagara Escarpment. The Niagara Escarpment goes back about 425 million years, when this rock was located in a warm, shallow sea closer to the equator. Over millions of years, calcium-laden sediment compressed into this rock formation you see today. Through the movement of the plates of the Earth, that once location near the equator is now 45 degrees north of the equator here at Door County. The dolomitic limestone that we see here today exposed is exposed in areas throughout the Midwest, from Niagara Falls to the east and Door County to the west. Think of the Niagara Escarpment as a big bowl in the Midwest, where we are on the western edge of that bowl. The center of that bowl is the state of Michigan, and the eastern edge, Niagara Falls. In Door County, you can see the escarpment coming up over 150 feet over the Bay of Green Bay. Because there is a slight slope to this escarpment, by the time it reaches the lakeside of the county, Lake Michigan, the escarpment pretty much continues underneath the lake on its way beneath the state of Michigan, and then re-emerging on the other side towards Niagara Falls. This terrace was once used as a mining site for removing rock right from the face of the escarpment. The blocky nature of it made it a great building material. You know, it's already in block form, and you'll see structures all over the place utilizing this. They used all the native rocks. You know, you look at the early settlement of this country, a lot of the materials they used were the natural resources growing near or on the site that they were building, or where they were building villages and homes and structures. They had to. We didn't have the movement of products being natural or synthetic moving throughout the world like we do today. So a lot of it was basically materials that they could get right close by. You'll see some of the older structures in Door County, a lot of the basements and foundations are made of this dolomitic limestone. It's still a treasured resource for fireplaces and fence lines, and you'll see a lot of the masons and such collect these rocks from the old fence lines, the rock piles that you see that, you know, were put there by the farmers clearing fields. Those are used for fireplaces and other types of masonry projects. The dolomitic limestone, which makes up the Niagara Escarpment, was formed, as I said earlier, 425 million years ago in a warm, shallow sea. Layers upon layers of creatures, calcium carbonate and calcium compressed layers and layers and layers, hundreds of feet of layers of rock, therefore creating a sedimentary rock over periods of millions of years. A feature of the dolomitic limestone we have in Door County, the vertical cracking, as evidenced right here, and the horizontal layering. Dolomitic limestone is a fine-grained rock that is very resistant to weathering. Weathering of the elements of wind and rain and other elements like glaciers that passed through here up until about 10,000 years ago. Over time, vegetation starts to grow on the faces of the escarpment, and in particular, certain species of plants love this type of habitat, including a whole mirage of lichens that are on the surface, and also certain organisms that live actually in the rock between the grains. The larger plant life includes the eastern white cedar. It's believed and has been studied that some of these trees in Door County are over 600 years old. And in other parts of the escarpment, they're over 1,000 years old. Even though they could be 1,000 years old, some of these trees are only about 5 to 6 inches in diameter. Due to the harshness of the environment on the face of the escarpment, the lack of water, possibly the lack of sunshine, lack of nutrients, life is very rough. These plants just show their determinations to survive and have survived here for hundreds of years, going into over 1,000 years for some of the northern white cedar. For more information about Door County and its beautiful natural features, visit www.doorcountytoday.com.
I am Julian Victor Hagen. I'm a fourth-generation Washington Islander. Musician at heart, but I also struggle to make a living on the island also, like many others. I grew up here through the 70s and 80s, and music has always been a main staple of my life, whether from a creative force or a social interactive venue. It's always been something that's really been prominent in my life through my family upbringing, through my relationships with friends, and still is, but for sure. And within the structure of the island, music has always been something that's been going way back through the 1800s, 1900s, of course. In small towns, especially as remote as this one, there wasn't a whole lot to do, of course, so music was always one of the main things. And it certainly brought people together for all the right reasons, and it still is happening here on the island. Laughing and dancing, yet tears in my eyes. I've watched the northern lights dance in the sky to a simple freedom song. Twisting and turning, yet calm all around. They've made my feet never touch on the ground. Yes, they've made me dance along, because we'll never have this time to live again. So why not live it up while we can? For there's less time than before, and I don't know how much more, but I know we'll never have this time again. Fresh smell of wood smoke invading my mind makes me remember all the good times that I've spent here with my friends, talking and dreaming of what we could be if we could just find out life's simple key. to make it never end, because we'll never have this time to live again. So why not live it up while we can? For there's less time than before, and I don't know how much more, but I know we'll never have this time again, because we'll never have this time to live again. So why not live it up while we can? For there's less time than before, and I don't know how much more, but I know we'll never have this time again. People, for whatever reason, I've noticed this up here maybe more than the county, that people come up here, they're more willing, maybe because of they're just more willing to open up and talk about their life. I've found that they love to sit, and pretty soon the circle of chairs expand and just encompass people that are sitting there, and if they want to be involved or contribute in conversation, they're welcome. And I've not seen this as much in the county, nothing personal, but I think this is just very cool. And by the way, if you're wondering what this beautiful building is here in the background or during the song that I sang, this is the boathouse on Rock Island State Park. And this is a state park that I believe is about 900 acres. You catch a ferry boat from the mainland to Washington Island, and then you catch another smaller boat for about a 10-minute ride over to this island. And it is, again, like Washington Island, and it's one of the best kept secrets. It's a beautiful park. There are approximately 32 campsites, I believe, here, and it's like stepping back in time. And I think, you would be pleasantly surprised and be moved by the beauty of this place and what you would find here. So I hope you'll come and contribute to the pond of life here. We need some fresh water, and I think you would get something very rewarding back out of it also. Hope to see you here.
Thanks for joining us today. Remember to come back often to find out more about Door County's history, landscapes, businesses, and people. I'm Paul Regnier for Door County Today. See you next time.